So I can look along the arch. So you got a 330 burr in there?
Yes, sir.
Okay, cool. So we're just going to do the same as we usually do. And cut right along the central groove, leaning the burr a little bit lingually. Get into the distal pit, up the distal buckle groove, lingual groove. Doesn't have to be much wider than the burr. So that's really as wide as you need to make it. Then as we get to the middle of the contact, we'll switch our position so we can see how close we are to the adjacent tooth. And right up against the adjacent tooth in the middle of the contact, facial-lingually. Then we'll go out facially a little bit at a time. At the same level, at the same pulpal floor level. Have I gone out far enough? Oh, not quite yet. Okay, so how about now? Let's see. Almost. A little more. So we take the same pulpal floor level all the way to the facial margin, then in a minute the lingual margin. So a trial and error. Now we're almost there lingually. A little more. So once we have the margins in the right place, then we'll go ahead and cut inward from those margins and make the walls at whatever angle we want. In this case, we want an obtuse exit angle, don't we? Since it's composite. So let's see how obtuse that is right now. So that's a pretty reasonable obtuse angle. Let's do the same thing on the facial. Cut straight in with the burr vertical. That looks like an obtuse exit angle as well, so we can make do with both of those. So from the margin, the angle, get the length, make the curve to join the isthmus. Same thing over here. Whatever we have to do to make a smooth connection to the isthmus, that's what we do. So now the occlusal outline is ready for us to go gingivally. We might end up extending a little more lingually. We could just move the margin a little bit more right now and then cut in again. And see what we think. You know, try to make it so that it's as easy as possible to go gingerly. Now, the 245, there we go, thank you. So if I put the burr about right here, and then right here, cut down each of those walls and cut away from each of those walls, then we're going to get rid of the excess along the lingual wall, looking so you know exactly how close you are to the adjacent tooth when you get rid of the excess. Same thing on the facial side. And we're going to get rid of the excess in the middle. So this burr doesn't cut all the way to the gingival margin. So we'll take a look and see where we are right now. There's still a little fin of excess there, but we know we're going to have to go farther gingerly, so we won't waste the time getting rid of the excess in the mid-gingival. So go back and do the 7 steps again. Okay, so I suspect that even if I get rid of the last little bit, I can sort of just break that out. Okay, so when I get rid of the rest of the excess, there's going to be a little bit of gingival clearance, but not very much. I'd probably like to go a little farther. Then it's going to be easier to get rid of the rest of the excess at the gingival margin for step 7. So this burr always tends to leave a little excess at the margin, so we can go back to the 330 burr since that burr is a little smaller, and even though it's a rounded end, we can get this burr a little closer to that gingival margin. Again, I'm looking so I can see how close I am to the adjacent tooth. Okay, I can probably get rid of a little bit more. We don't want to have too much excess there for using the hand instrument, because if there's a lot of excess, the hand instrument's going to chip it off. So that's a fairly minimal amount of excess, and the clearance gingivally looks like it's going to be just about right for making the gingival bevel. So let me see. So we're going to have an enamel hatchet. Okay, so you've had that out earlier, so you can find it for me. Okay. So we're going to look down the facial wall and use the enamel hatchet at the facial margin. We're not going to use it internally, because we don't need sharp internal line angles for a composite restoration. Then down the lingual, since our clearances are, like 0.5 millimeters or so, we can't get rid of the hook of unsupported enamel at the margins with the burr, so we use a hand instrument down each of these walls. Again, make sure you line the instrument up with the mirror. You can do a little scraping on the gingival margin, but let's have the mesial GMT. It's one of these. Let's see. Yeah, you got it. So now we can angle the gingival floor a little bit, get rid of any undermined enamel we have down there. Hopefully there's so little excess at that margin that it doesn't chip away, so we're going to be pretty careful about it. So we're getting some angulation, cleaning up the margin. We can bevel the occipulpal line angle as well. Whether that's strictly necessary for composites, very debatable, but it looks better when it's beveled because we're used to it. Okay, so let's see how we're looking now. Okay, so that looks pretty clean. So now let's go ahead and make the gingival bevel. So if they don't give you one of these, it's going to be hard to make the gingival bevel, won't it? So I'm going to look a little bit more vertically, if I can, down the wall. Lean the burr toward the axis. Start at the wall. Cut gingivally right there at the facial wall. Cut into the gingival margin, then cut away from the margin toward the middle. So let's see how it's looking so far on the facial side. It's minimal. We can do a little bit more than that. But again, we always start from the walls and cut toward the center. Look so you can see how close you are to the adjacent tooth. Okay, so that's a fairly easy to see gingival bevel. Makes a smooth connection to the facial angle walls. Okay, we could maybe get rid of a little excess on the pulpal floor right here, I just noticed. Not such a big deal, but that would just be one way we could sort of finishing it a little bit better. Make the pulpal floor a little flatter all the way to the axial pulpal line angle, then bevel the line angle again. Alright, so as far as a 19 MO composite prep, that's about what we're looking for.